Hello, I'm Angel. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to talk about imitating the masters versus doing your own thing. So let's get into it. I was watching some of my favorite photographers and videographers, as I frequently do lately, because I'm trying to learn from the best. And I noticed a lot of my favorite photographers sell Lightroom presets. I don't have Lightroom yet, so I haven't even got to play with those. But while I was watching them, as I have more than once watched them, by them I'm talking about Maddie from Travel Fields, that is, and Peter McKinnon and Chris Howe, some of my favorites, Roberto Blake even, and Chase Jarvis, of course, from Creative Live. Those people I've been watching and listening to for the last year or two, and many of them sell presets lately, more and more of them. And when I look at what that is, I see that that's an individual style, and they're like $20 usually. Sometimes they're on sale for 10, and it's probably well worth the money. But in doing that, I think in the long run, much like it reminds me of in first grade when my son was learning how to write magazine articles, and we did what they called imitating the masters. So pick an article that's similar to the one that you want to emulate, and then basically just plug in your own information, your own words, but use their format, their style. And it gives you a pretty good product. It's a really good place to start, and it gives you a understanding a lot of times of what the expert did, the master or the expert did to create the said thing that you admire. So it's a great learning technique. However, when facing the question, should I imitate the master? Should I do what's trending? Should I follow the fashion, the latest fashion? Or should I do my own thing? I think as Gary Vaynerchuk would say, and often does say, yes, both. You should follow trends. You should follow fashion. You should pay attention to what's going on and what's relevant, and what's popular, and you should be thinking about how to incorporate that into your output. Bringing that in, crunching it through the you that is you, and then putting it out there. And at the same time, you should always be true to yourself. You should be doing your own thing, because if we all just imitate each other, then it becomes very boring, very uninteresting very quickly, and we lose each other to that boredom. So I think it's super important to learn from the best, to pay attention to trends, to, even investigate the current fashions, and play whatever part is genuine and authentic to you with respect to that. And in my case, that means sometimes following trends and fashion, sometimes falling back into older trends and fashions that I like, and overridingly always doing my own thing. Because here's the thing, I learn over and over and over again, and I'm in the process of learning again. It's the originality, it's the difference, it's whatever makes you unique that sets you apart, that is your special power. Your greatest weakness is also your greatest strength. That's true for all of us. And I think the more you can figure that out, it's not about focusing on what your weakness is, but it's about seeing how what you perceive as your weakness is actually your strength. So one of my favorite quotes is, vulnerability is power. I think that comes from Brene Brown. She talks a lot about vulnerability and how powerful it is. And I think that about in my studies with healing as well. And I was just talking to somebody about addictive behavior, which I still have plenty of, but I do my best overcoming of that, healing from that, when I'm able to turn around and face it, not when I avoid. Now, I think much like if you have a wound, if you keep picking at the scab, it never heals. I think avoidance, leaving it alone, is definitely part of the healing process. It's very important. But I also think ultimately you need to be able to, I was going to say walk through the fire, and you don't have to walk through fire, so that was a bad example. But ideally, like we were talking about addictions, to some of the most prevalent are negative thinking and sugar and smoking and those kind of habits. It's hard to get completely away from. You're going to see other people doing them. You're going to get triggered if all you do is avoid. Now, again, it's good to avoid when you're first overcoming that habit. And, I wouldn't keep those things in the house necessarily, or definitely not out in front of you. And maybe you need to change the friends you hang out with if they're mainly doing whatever it is you're trying to avoid, whether it's eating a lot or smoking or thinking negative thoughts. All of those things, I have had more than one friend who I've had to distance myself from to some extent because I realized that I was using them as catalysts, excuses for not cleaning up my own behavior in the areas that I really wanted to, with regard to thinking better thoughts, with regard to eating more healthy, with regard to smoking less, drinking less, all those things. I still, like this month, it's January, it's no vodka January for me because I do like my vodka, but in January and sometimes in July lately, I don't partake in vodka just to kind of give my body a break and to see how it feels, to reevaluate, to check in with that. And in my case, it helps to just have it in the cabinet, but know that I'm choosing to not partake in it, because then it's empowering. It's my choice. Now, for some people I know, that'd be crazy. And with some things, that's crazy. With gummy bears, for example, I sometimes lose all sense of control sometime late at night. And even with the vodka, if I remove that hard line, I sometimes can easily push past where I set my own limit, especially late and once I've already broken that with sugar or alcohol, or negative thinking for that matter. But I continue to turn around and face it, get better, really evaluate, does this serve me? And an occasional drink now and then I'm good with. A binge now and then even seems to serve me still, although it may not next year. Some sugar I like, I enjoy, and when I keep it in control, it's a nice thing to give myself. And negative thinking only helps to have a brief flash of lately I'm pretty hard on trying to wean myself way off the negative thinking, because here's the thing, it happens automatically. The media and just the nature of our brains, I think, and certainly in my case, decades of habitual negative thinking lead to no problem with those things coming up. And just, I think people in the world tend toward complaining. Numerous reasons that's true, but in any case, does seem to be the case. And so I don't think I need to partake in any negative thinking. I'm always trying to bring myself to recognize when I am partaking in negative thinking, ruminating in some negative thought, and switch it over to the positive, because that puts my body in a better chemical state. It puts my mind in a more productive place. It trains me to trust myself. It trains the people around me and myself to be more positive, that I'm a productive, positive person. The universe responds to me accordingly when I make that a priority. So that's a priority for me. Back to, should I do what the experts say, or should I do things my own way? That's where we started. And the answer is yes, both. You should definitely pay attention to what the experts are doing. Follow what's trending. You don't have to follow the trends, but pay a little attention to what's trending. Maybe, if it's in your nature. Other times, sometimes it's okay, because here's the thing. The universe will show you in more than one way what you need. As long as you're tuning in and showing up and doing the work that you're here to do, whether that's create or build or serve or a little of all of the above, teach, learn, whatever it is, show up and do the work, and the clues will come. And pay attention to who's doing it the way you want to do it, and maybe mimic them or imitate them for a while, learn from them, try doing what they're doing in your own way, in your own style, and see what you get. And then hone in on what's really authentically you, your style. What combination, juxtaposition of traits, skills, details, characteristics make you uniquely you, so that you have something very unique that's just you to offer all of us, this universe, the rest of us, and yourself. Even if you don't give a shit about us, if you think about what your purpose is, as we all seem to, showing yourself what you can be, blooming into your full self, I think, for me, is the goal. And it's my goal to help as many people as I can do that. If I can, that's what I feel driven to do. So if there's any way I can help you bloom into your best self, I would love to hear about it. Let me know in the comments, please. And if you are in the process of imitating a master or doing your own thing, let me know which it is, or is it a combination of the two? I love to hear your thoughts. I love to hear about your actions. I love to hear if you've got a favorite photographer that you're following. Have you tried any presets? Are you making your own presets? Back to where I started on that thought, I thought, when I do buy Lightroom, I'm just going to be playing with making my own presets. Now, maybe if I have a few $20 is to toss around and the mood strikes me, I've had a vodka or two beforehand, I might go ahead and buy a preset pack from one of my favorite photographers like Peter McKinnon or Chris Howe, because they're really excellent and I would like to see how they do that. But ultimately, I'm going to be doing my own presets if I get into that programming, and as I am, like right now on YouTube, making my own default settings, because that's part of what makes me unique. What makes my stuff unique to me is figuring out what I like and, making my defaults that. So I hope ultimately you find your own presets, your own defaults, your own way of being your own master. And until then, and maybe even after that, I hope you're finding lots of people, lots of masters, or at least an occasional master or two that you want to emulate, that you want to learn something from, that you can mimic in some way, just to pick up another skill or to modify the skill sets that you have. That's my 2 cents for tonight. I'm working on my office finally, after months of talking about setting up a little studio. I had a massage room moved in here, and then I moved it out, and so now I'm going to be setting this up for some audio, video, and lighting. A better setup. I love to know. So this might be one of my last posts with my camera, although I might still be using them for a long time to come. We will see. Might be the last one with terrible lighting, although this isn't the worst that I've ever used. That's because I've set the bar super low. You can go check out some of my videos. Maybe I'll put cards up eventually. I don't know if I will yet, but eventually I'm going to get to all that fancy stuff I've been learning about. And for now, though, my style is just prolific, fast, fun, fast content. So, cheers.